You're gonna lie down on them, right here, right below the shoulder blades. If you only have one ball, I will prompt you to switch sides, and you could just take one out and choose one side first, and then I'll tell you when to switch, okay? So what we're doing here is getting, you don't need these things here. What you do is getting right in there on either side of the spine into those spaces that for many of us get really hardened throughout the course of the day, the week, right? Take really deep, full breaths. And then you might want to roll around, like move around on the ball. Now, at any moment, if this is too intense, you can always take the ball to the wall and it will be less so. Wherever you are, take really deep breaths. Maybe we'll do 3 minutes with the shoulders, but take really deep breaths. Let the breath and gravity, the ball and the body do the work, and let your mind observe. Your mind doesn't actually have to do much work. And if you've got one ball, you're going to switch sides soon. I want you to spend a few more breaths here. Maybe you end up moving the arm connected to the side you're working on in that case. But just really pour all of your attention and awareness and care into this place. If you're working one side at a time, you can switch sides. And again, if you've got both balls there, you might be having a lovely time just working both sides at once. Really deep, full breaths. You'll notice that each breath cycle takes you on a journey of sensation in this space. And you might notice I'm moving my neck around a lot because for me, when I open up my shoulders, it actually frees up all this space in my neck where I tend to have some chronic pain. And so you'll see me doing that. You're welcome to move however you'd like. You are responding to the inner sensations in your body, which will be different, right? Only you have access to that. And then if you did the movement of the arm on the other side, you could do a little bit here as you deepen the breath, deepen your commitment to being in this space. All right. And then as you finish up here on this side, you're going to go ahead and take the balls and put them off to the side. We're going to use one ball again in a couple of minutes. But for now, go ahead and take your hands to the base of your skull. Lift up your legs and squeeze your inner knees together and point your feet. You're in a pre-crunch position, and that's exactly what we're going to do. You're going to curl up. First, just do a regular crunch where you just tuck your chin and pull your elbows in, and then lay back. You'll notice that you're also stretching this area. Widen your elbows. Now we're going to crisscross it. So right elbow to left knee. Now extend your right leg. And then come back and switch. Yep, pretty simple. Now just get a little rhythm for yourself. And you'll notice you are stretching and moving in that space that we opened up in the shoulders. Obviously, you're also really using your core. About 20 more seconds of core work here. You could change the pace if you want. Going faster or slower. But try to be really clear with the movement, getting the elbow to the outside of the knee as much as you can. Last few counts here. And then give yourself a little rest. Now you can just spread your limbs away from each other and just get a nice big full stretch here. Stretch your belly. You may want to roll out the wrists and the ankles. Move the head. And then hug your knees into your chest and rock up. Here you might want to sit up on something. We're going to do a simple side stretch. You can sit cross-legged if that's comfortable. Take the right hand to the right of your mat and then reach the left arm alongside your ear. And really sink down through that left hip as you reach through the left arm. A couple more breaths here. So what we've been working on is connections, right? Parts and then the spaces that connect them. So feel all of these kind of harder parts and then the softer spaces in between. That's what's stretching. Now we're gonna tuck the chin. You might want to sort of watch me first, but you're gonna tuck the chin and kind of round the back like a cat spine. Left fingers go toward the ground, but they may not touch. So you're kind of drooping the upper body, and then you're gonna take both hands along as you come to the other side. You should get some very interesting little spots. Coming to the other side, you can just go ahead and do a little fold over to that side. Again, a couple breaths where you anchor down through your right hip and sits bone as you reach over toward the left side. Drop the head, take a big breath in, and then a big breath out. Okay, come on up to sit. You might feel a little lopsided. Let's fix that. Left hand comes to the left, right arm comes alongside the ear. And then take these really big breaths. The right hip is dropping down like an anchor. The right arm is reaching away. And then find all those little spaces in between the hard parts, right? The chinks in between your rib cage, your ribs, right? That space between your right pointy hip bone and the lower right ribs. And then we're gonna tuck everything, reaching through that right arm at a diagonal, taking the left fingertips out as well, dropping, drooping the head, and then trace this sort of semicircle around to the other side. And just explore all these little soft spots in between the hard places. Stay folded over toward the right now. You may have to put more weight in the left sits bone and hip point. Inhale very deeply. Feel that inhale filling up these spaces, and then exhale all the way. Awesome. Next, we're going to take, that's interesting here happening here. Next, we're going to take this ball, and we're going to place it on the ground, and we're going to come up to stand actually, and work with the ball under the foot. So you just put the ball on your mat or on the floor, and then you're going to test it out with one foot. And you're going to play around. You're going to move around. We're going to do about a minute on each side of the foot, or each foot. You're going to move the ball around and notice, right? So we've got all these metatarsals, right? These little bones, and then there's all the little spaces connected. And so see what you could do exploring with those spaces. Depending on how your foot feels, you may be able to put more weight on it, right? Sometimes I like to choose a particularly tough spot in the foot and then just stand my weight on it and take a few really deep breaths. It might feel better just to roll it all around and see what you can do in terms of making space in between the metatarsals. Make space on the inside of your inner arch. Make space in the heel. Make space in the outer foot. It can be a little harder to get into. And the front of the foot. Last couple breaths here. And just imagine you're just making more space in that foot, right? Breathe all the way down into that foot. And then just take a moment, place both feet, and just notice if there's more awareness in one than the other, more space, more energy. And then you'll switch. Nice and simple. And take deep breaths. Take your time. Send the breath all the way down into that foot that you're massaging. And yeah, be methodical in terms of getting into all the areas that we did on the other side. But don't hesitate to focus more on the place that wants you to this morning, right? Your body will say, oh, right here. And that's perfectly fine. Last few breaths on this side. All righty. Now, you can put that ball off to the side. We won't use it again in this sequence. And then you're just gonna, roll out these feet. You could flex and point. You could flare the toes and point the toes, right? Just get a little energy moving in each foot. Oh yeah. Flexing, pointing, spreading, gathering. All right. And now this next exercise is pretty simple, but it's challenging. A little bit more. So it's going to start with founder's pose, where you're going to take your feet a little bit wide, like a little wider than inner hips distance, which is often what we're standing, right? A little bit wider. And then toes pointing straight forward and your knees pointing straight forward over your toes, you're going to come into a squat. I'll show you from the side. Now, what makes it a little different than just a regular squat is you're going to now pull weight more to your heels, so much so that your toes may come up off the ground and spread out, right? All that energy you have in your feet. Breathe. Now take your hands, palms up, sit back a little deeper, kind of like you're sitting toward a chair. And again, let the weight be in your heels. So much you may find yourself falling back and falling forward. Now that falling back and falling forward is you really strengthening your back legs, right? Hamstrings, glutes, calves a little bit, right? Stay here another 10 seconds, okay? Relax your shoulders and your face. There are hard, strong parts here. And then there's soft parts that connect them, okay? Breathe. Awesome. Now take a big inhale. And as you exhale, you're going to turn your palms down. You're going to sort of straighten your legs, and your palms are going to end up face up behind you like this. Option to come to your tiptoes. Okay, then sit back toward the chair, come back to the original position. Now we're going to move just like that a few times. Inhaling and exhaling, you come up, maybe onto the tiptoes. Reach your arms back so as we open those shoulders. Sit back into the heels, palms up. And then exhale. We'll do 2 more after this, yeah? So inhale, back into the heels, lifting the toes. Palms come up as you sit back deep. And come up to stand. Reach forward, the heart back with the arms. 1 more. Just coordinating it with the breath as best you can. Awesome. Now, lower the heels, interlace your fingers behind your back, or some of you might want to grab a belt or something like that. And now just lift up through your heart. You can sit back toward that chair pose again, but then a founder's pose, but then end up in a forward fold. And you can straighten the legs. They don't have to straighten all the way, right? It might not feel right for them to straighten all the way. And we'll stay here 5 breath cycles. 1, Feeling the big inhale, fill up these spaces. And 2, it's like the breath is pouring itself in between any of the hard spots and just bringing more softness to the connection points. Head really dangling. And again, you might notice me, I move mine around a little bit. And then a big exhale. Good. Let yourself come up to stand. And then we're going to do 2 standing poses before finishing up on the floor with some stuff. So go ahead and take your feet nice and wide now. Turn the right toes toward the right. Right knee bends directly over the right ankle. We're going to go into an extended side angle. It's set up a lot like warrior 2 in the legs. And then you can take your right forearm to the thigh and your left arm alongside the ear. Or some people like to take it into the fuller version with the right hand outside of the foot, perhaps on a block. Okay, and wherever you are, breathe deep. 1. Big full breaths, really reaching through that left side. Again, all these points we've been working with. The left foot is an anchor. The right foot is in opposition. Right, the left hand is in opposition. Breathe for 4. Big breaths, your belly's strong. And then kind of reach the heart, spin the heart a little bit more to the sky, even as the left shoulder digs deeper into its shoulder socket. Great, and then you're gonna come all the way up to stand and just switch sides very simply. Left forearm can go onto the thigh or the hand outside of the foot. Right arm reaches alongside the ear. Take your deep breaths. 1. Breathe and feel for 2. Finding these strong anchor points and reaching points and then filling the space in between, supple, connecting energy. 4. Spin the heart open. 5. Wonderful. So you're gonna we're gonna end up in a downward dog on the mat. So you can get there kind of however you like. I'm gonna stand at the front of the mat, raise my arms up, inhale, exhale, fold. I'm gonna lengthen my spine. I'm gonna jump back through a chaturanga. You do not have to do that transition at all. Upward dog, inhale, and then downward dog, right? Our meeting place. All right, you take a few breaths in downward dog before we transition to the final poses here, but just notice, right, the spaces in between, right? Notice your anchors. Notice the opposition, then fill the spaces in between with breath. Really root through hands and feet, really lift your hips, and then you can have the space to really press your chest toward your thighs, heels toward the earth. 1 more inhale. And exhale. And then you're gonna go ahead and look forward. You're gonna either step or hop all the way through to sit. And then you're gonna end up actually coming onto the back. So last couple poses here for us, my friends. Now, next you could do a bridge pose. Squeeze the block between your thighs. Let's all do this. Just squeeze the block between your thighs, press into your feet, engage your belly, and then lift the hips up, right? So with the strength of the legs, the feet, the belly, the hips can become really light feeling. And then squeezing the block adds in all the strength of your inner thighs. Okay, and then from here, you could interlace your fingers behind your back, kind of squeeze the shoulder blades together, pressing down through the arms. Or you could just keep your hands on the mat. Stretch out the belly, press through the feet. 1 more breath in. And out. Go ahead and lower the hips. And now you're simply going to take the same block. This can also work with a blanket, or you could have a rolled blanket in between your thighs. And you're going to put it under your sacrum. Okay, you want to find that bony plate that's right above the flesh of the tush once you lay it down like this, right? And you can just stay and breathe here for a few moments, or anybody who really is hungry for a full wheel pose, you could set that up and take that. Otherwise, just stay here for a few big breaths, letting the weight of your pelvis drop super heavy into that block without you having to support it at all. And then for the final pose, you're going to lift your legs straight up into the air. You might want to cactus your arms here and just take a few breaths into the back of your heart. Those of you who would love to do a full shoulder stand, this would be a lovely moment to go into full shoulder stand instead. But this version where you're just resting on your back with the legs in the air gives you lots of benefits, similar to shoulder stand, and it can feel very effortless. And I want whatever pose you choose in these last 8 breaths of this practice or so, just to find that effortlessness. Trust all the solid parts in you to be solid. Trust all the soft parts to be soft. Now, these little short practices are meant to just give you something that you could get in there and do. But anytime you feel inspired to continue doing a longer practice afterwards, that's wonderful, and I encourage it. When you are ready to close your practice, you'll want to come out of the last pose really gently and sweetly and simply. And then just make sure that you always give yourself a little moment to finish, a little moment of gratitude toward yourself and all the circumstances that make it possible for you to do this practice.